This is the case of the State of Ohio versus Brooke Skylar Richardson, case number 2017 CR 33292. Present before the court is Ms. Richardson, right? Represented by Mr. Wickers et al. We have Mr. Knipp and Ms. Kraft on behalf of the prosecutor's office. We are here today for continuation of the trial. Yesterday afternoon, Ms. Richardson, after you were excused by your attorneys, we had some discussions about the case. We went through exhibits. We were on the record. We went through some exhibits, and the attorneys argued some motions, which were in part dispositive of some of the counts against you in this case. You have the right to be present for anything that happens in this case. But you also have the right not to be present if you don't want to. So the fact that you weren't there, I'm not sure that your attorneys, maybe they did, realized that we were going to go in to as much depth in things as we did. So we have three remedies for this. The first remedy is that we videotaped everything that happened yesterday on our court system. You can sit and watch that if you want to. And then remedy number two is we will go through all of that again in your presence with you here so that you can see, hear, and participate if you would like. The third thing that we can do is confirm that you did in fact waive your right to be present for yesterday's hearing, and you just need to affirm that today. Have you talked about this with your lawyers?
Yes, I confirmed that I was aware, and so, yes.
Okay, and you chose not to be here yesterday afternoon?
Yes,
and
Your Honor.
And you were okay with that going forward without you?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else that we need to put on the record before we get our jury? All right. The plan is to break about 10 o'clock to work in the witness that is here is to break from 10 to 10:30. That's sort of the plan, right? Yes, sir. Okay. All right. Mr. Mullins, go get our jury. You may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Was everybody able to follow my instructions and admonitions over last night and into this morning? All right, Mr. Wickers, call your first witness, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. We call Scott Richardson.
All right, Mr. Richardson is on the list of the individuals who does not wish to be photographed or filmed.
Solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in these proceedings will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Can I get a thing of water? Thank you.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning.
Can you please state your full name for the record?
Scott Richardson.
And who are you married to?
Kim Richardson.
What's your relation to Skylar?
She's my daughter.
How long have you been married to Kim?
23 years.
Do you have any other children?
Son Jackson.
How old is Jackson?
He turns 18 tomorrow.
Okay. What year is Jackson in school?
He's a senior.
Okay. Where do you work?
Town Construction Services in Batavia, Ohio.
And what do you do for town construction?
I'm an accountant.
Okay. How long you been working there?
It's about 5.5 years now.
Okay. How about before that?
Well, I think you all heard I was with SK Construction for quite a bit of my career.
And there's a potential juror that worked at SK.
Correct.
Where do you live now?
Carlisle, Ohio.
And can you describe for us, just briefly, Carlisle, the community?
It's a small, close-knit town, Midwestern conservative, I guess.
Do you know a lot of people in Carlisle?
Most of them, until recently, it started to grow in population.
The town did?
Yeah.
How about, who do you live with?
My wife, Kim,
Okay.
daughter, and son.
Do you have any animals?
We have 2 miniature schnauzers.
Okay. How did you get those 2 dogs?
Well, we sort of inherited them. My cousin passed away in 2014 or 15, and we took them in.
Okay. Is one of the dogs more Skylar's dog?
Well, there's one that's now 15, and there's one that's about 10. The younger dog sort of gravitated to Skylar, and the older dog sort of gravitated to Kim.
Where do the dogs sleep?
Usually in bed with Kim or Skylar. They're small in there.
So, what are the dogs' names?
Peanut is the older one. Norman's the younger one.
And who sleeps with Skylar?
Norman.
Okay. And Peanut would sleep with Kim?
most of the time.
I want to go back in time and take you back to when Skylar was born. Where did you live?
We lived in Middletown, Ohio.
All right. Why was that a good spot for your family at the time?
Well, Kim worked in either Franklin or Dayton at the time, and I was working either in Kenwood or Middletown at the time. So it was sort of central.
Where was Skylar delivered?
Middletown Hospital, the old one.
Do you remember who delivered her?
Dr. Andrews.
When the kids were young, just babies, what type of mother was Kim?
She was a doting, loving mother.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 008.
Objection, Your Honor.
Counsel approach, remove the photograph, please. May continue.
Thank you, Judge. Scott, I'm displaying what's been marked as Defense Exhibit 008. Can you tell us what that is a picture of?
No, that's Kim and the kids. Looks like Skylar was probably 2 to 3, and Jackson was maybe less than a year at that point.
Where did you live back then?
We moved from Middletown to, it was a Springboro mailing address, but a Franklin School District area, Dearth Road, right off of 123.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to observe Kim around the kids when they were young?
Yes.
And how was she as a mother?
She was just always, don't know how else to describe it. She was just always trying to take care of them, doing the best she could.
How many years apart are Skylar and Jackson?
About a year and a half.
Okay. When they were young children together, when Skylar was 2 and he was just an infant, how were they together? How was she to him?
She's always loved her little brother.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 1. What is that? And about how old are your children there?
Well, that's a typical picture. She's 2.5, maybe 3. Jackson's less than 1, I would say.
Okay, where was that photo taken?
I believe that was at the house in the one we just discussed, Franklin Springboro area.
Okay. I'm going to show you Defense Exhibit marked as 002.
Your Honor, would you just note for the record the state's continuing objection to all of these photographs?
Noted.
What is that a picture of, Scott?
It's roughly the same time frame, same house.
Okay. Was that common for Skylar to be always touching and loving on her brother?
Absolutely.
How was your relationship as a father when Skylar was just a little kid?
She was Daddy's little girl.
I'll show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 003. Do you remember when that was taken?
Yeah, she was less than 1 at that point, I believe. This is our house when we were still in Middletown.
Okay. What's she have in her hand there?
A book,
Skylar like to read?
always.
Show you 004. Do you know approximately how old you might have been in this photograph?
Well, she was under 1, so that was 19 years ago. I was about 43.
Okay. Was it common for you to spend a lot of time with Skylar when she was young, around this age?
Yes.
Defendant's Exhibit 005. Where was that?
That was the house on Dearth Road, Springboro, Franklin.
How old's Skylar there?
She would have been a little over 2, I believe.
Okay. Where were you working at the time?
That was when I was with SK.
SK? 006. How old's Skylar here?
I think that's around the same age, maybe a little older. I got that T-shirt for when I went to a NASCAR race with some of the people I worked with It was Powder Puff Girls, and she loved the Powder Puff Girls.
The one that's on her head?
No, the shirt.
Oh, that she's wearing.
That's her little blankie thing that she has on her head.
Okay. When Skylar was young, and I'm talking, 2, 5, she was growing up, was she into sports?
She tried.
What sorts of sports did she try when she was young?
Well, I know she played softball, but she tried soccer. She liked tennis, but never played on a team or anything.
Why, if you know, did she like softball, do you think?
Oh, partially because her mom was a really good softball player, and she just wanted to do what the other kids were doing, I believe.
I'm going to show you a picture of her with a baseball bat in her hand. This is 007. What's that a picture of?
That's her practicing in our backyard when she was about 2.
Okay. Did she play softball when she was older, high school years?
She played up until high school, and then once she got into high school, the cheer was almost year-round, so that was where she spent most of her time, was cheer.
Growing up in Carlisle, how can you tell us a little bit about your extended family and Kim's extended family and how close they lived to you all?
Well, Kim's family is actually mostly from the Carlisle area. My family's just not too far away in West Middletown, so we spent a lot of time with all of them.
Kim grew up in Carlisle?
Yes.
Go to Carlisle schools?
Yes.
What did you guys, as a family, I'm talking about your immediate family, you and Kim, Jackson, Skylar, did you have occasions where you'd always see extended family, where there's set times when you'd see them?
Well, every major holiday.
Okay. What were some of the family traditions for holidays as the kids were growing up?
Well, Easter, we'd always either go to church, eat, and have a Easter egg hunt, or sometimes we would just get together at my grandparents' or grandparents', but we always got together, and the kids were with all their cousins.
Were there kids of different ages at those events?
Yeah, from babies to 10, 12 years old at all times. The ranges they all grew up together.
How was Skylar with the younger kids at those holiday events?
They always gravitated toward her. She was just very loving and kept them entertained.
I'm going to show you a picture 0010. When was this taken?
Oh, that was Easter, and that's her with her little brother.
What was the Easter tradition at your family?
Well, like I said, I think in this case we went to church, then we went to her mom's for dinner, and then they had a big Easter egg hunt. And then sometimes we would go from there to my grandmother's house.
About how many kids would be around her at these extended family events?
A dozen or more.
I'm going to show you 009. When was this taken?
That was Christmas prior to that Easter. That's her with her older cousin Savannah, cousin Chase, and then her brother Jackson.
Which one's Jackson?
The goofy looking one on the end.
And at these events, what was the Christmas tradition? How many kids would she be around then?
Well, we would do different things with different sides of the family, but my grandmother, when she was still alive, everybody on that side of the family would come together. And then always with Kim's side of the family, we would go to either her mom's or her brother's, and all of them would come together. So in both cases, there would be a dozen or more kids there.
Okay. And with Skylar, we saw a picture with, was that Savannah in the picture?
Yes.
Was she close with family members?
Yes.
You mentioned cheer earlier, that Skylar didn't play softball, she got into cheering. When did she start getting into cheering?
Well, she cheered all through, like when 3rd grade, I think it started with Pee Wee.
Okay.
But then 7th and 8th grade, it became a school event, so it took up a little more time. And by high school, not only was she doing the high school cheer, she was doing some competitive cheer at the GTCO.
What did Skylar like about cheer?
Well, she was into gymnastics, tumbling, and the teams usually had a range of kids, and she just enjoyed being around other kids.
I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as Defendant's Exhibit 1515. What is it? This is a photograph, a screenshot that we got off Facebook. What is that a picture of, and about how old is Skylar?
I think that was 7th grade, so she'd have been about 12. And this is the GTCO, I can't remember, Gymnastic Training Center in Franklin. She was on a team, and then the little girl next to her was in what they called the Rainbows. She volunteered to help with the special needs team.
Why?
She liked being around those kids, and even at that age, I think she early on thought she wanted to work with kids.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as 0016. What is this a picture of?
That's that same rainbow team, I think the next year at a competition.
How often would Skylar help out with rainbows?
Well, they usually practiced at least once a week during the season and maybe an extra one when they had a competition. So if they practiced, she was there.
Do you see Skylar in this photo? I don't know.
I don't. She would have been in the back somewhere because that's all the competitors themselves.
Okay. About how often would she help with rainbow cheer? Did you just answer that?
Yeah, once a week or more if they had a competition.
Did she have to do it? Did you or Kim push her toward it?
No, that was totally up to her. She volunteered.
About when did you first notice her problems with eating?
Well, looking back, I know it started when she was about 12, but I don't think I really noticed until she was in the 8th grade.
Okay, so how old would Skylar have been in 8th grade?
I think she turned 13, 14, in that range.
And when you say looking back, you think it was around 12. What sorts of things first kind of clued you in that she might have a problem with her eating?
Well, she started hiding food in her room. I mean, just, it was like it's hard to describe it. Her weight started to fluctuate, and she didn't eat normally around us. And she was overly concerned with the caloric intake.
At some point, did you and Kim get concerned enough where you got her in treatment?
We tried several different things. She was first to a dietitian, nutritionist, because we thought maybe that was her concern. And there was Children's Medical Center, several therapists. It was just, nothing really seemed to help, and we just kept trying to do what we could.
And this was as early as what grade do you think she first might have started treatment?
I think it was 8th grade.
Okay. Was she having problems in 8th grade? And I'm not going to get into detail, but in addition to the eating disorder?
Yes.
Can you briefly just expound upon that, what you know?
It was a uncomfortable relationship, and there was some bullying.
Okay. Did Skylar, was she confrontational? Did she stand up for herself in that situation?
No.
So her weight, I think you just mentioned that she fluctuated. She'd go up and down
Right.
since about junior high school.
Yeah, I think that's when it started.
I'm going to show you a side-by-side photograph here. The jury's already seen it. It's marked as 0013. It's as far out as it goes. When was the photograph on the left taken?
That was the summer before her sophomore year.
And so that would have been about what year? 14?
Sounds about right.
All right. When was the photograph on the right taken?
That was later during the school year.
So that would have been within 6 months or so?
Yes,
That selfie photograph on the right?
correct.
Do you have any idea how much weight she lost in those few months?
Probably 30 pounds, if not more.
Do you personally know that, or you're just guessing?
I'm just guessing. That was not my expertise.
Okay. I'm going to show you photograph 14. It's a Skylar in a bathing suit. Do you know when this was taken?
I think this was the summer the following year.
Okay, so she's back up again in weight
Yes.
compared to the picture on the right. In junior high, did she continue her interest in, hanging out with kids. Did she like kids in high school even?
Yeah.
I'll show you a picture 0017. How old is Skylar here in this photograph?
That was sophomore year basketball season, so I think she would have been about 15.
Okay, so this would have kind of coincided with the photograph, the side-by-side with her on the right, correct?
Correct.
It would have been middle of sophomore year. She's, again, down in weight a little bit. And who's the little girl with Skylar without using her last name since?
Chloe.
Okay. Sticking on her weight fluctuations, I'm going to show you a picture that I believe is junior year, but tell me if you know when this photograph was taken.
Yeah, I believe that's correct, because that was her brother's birthday. He was not yet in high school, and she was getting ready for a football game.
So and they're actually, I just noticed their dogs in the photograph.
Yeah, that's Norman down there by Jackson's feet, and that's Peanut's head sticking up from the bottom of the photo.
Okay, and those are the two dogs you already talked about.
Yes.
When do you think this was? Was that a football or basketball cheer thing?
This is looks like football cheer.
So what year was she there?
I believe this is going into junior year.
Okay, so she would have been up in weight sophomore summer, down in weight sophomore year, and then back up again going into junior year.
Sounds right.
Okay. We know that this is well before pregnancy, right?
Yes.
Okay. When Skylar was at games, whether it be her games or Jackson's games or just the Carlisle, did you guys go to Carlisle sporting events?
Oh, yeah.
What types of sporting events did you go to?
Well, I mean, when they were younger, she cheered, and my son played Pee Wee football, and then he played CBA baseball, and she played ponytail softball.
And your family would go to those games?
Yes.
Did you go to Friday night football game?
Yes.
I'm going to show you 0023. Is this the same little girl that we just saw?
Yes, it is.
All right. What was Skylar's relationship with? Her name's Chloe.
Chloe.
What was her relationship like throughout high school? How old's Skylar here?
That was sophomore, so she probably would have been 15.
Okay. And did she continue to see and have a relationship with Chloe? How did that come about?
So Chloe is Shane's daughter, family friend who had a son the same age as Skylar. He also had a son the same age as Jackson. So we were at sporting events together all the time. And every time we were, Chloe would run to see Skylar.
And are you aware of what sorts of things they do together at the games? This is at Skylar's brother's games, Jackson's.
Correct.
So Jackson's 2 years younger in school or 3?
Just about 2.
So he's a
Couple
senior
years. This year. Yes.
He's graduating 20
20.
and Skylar was 17.
Right, so 3 full years, but they're 2 years about. You get me confused. She was born in 99, he was born in 2001. She was born in March, he was born in September.
So she wasn't cheering at his baseball games?
No. She was there, probably as bored as Skylar, so they kept each other entertained.
Okay. What sorts of things did they do together that you saw?
She usually brought coloring books and candy just to keep them happy and quiet.
Mr. Wickers, I apologize for
Yes,
interrupting.
Joe.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you're hearing right now is sort of what we refer to as general character evidence. And normally, I do not allow general character evidence for anybody other than the character of the defendant. Ms. Richardson is allowed to present evidence of her good character or a pertinent trait of her character in order to demonstrate to you that on the date in question that she acted in conformity with this good character and did not commit the crimes with which she is accused of. And you are permitted to consider the issue of good character for this purpose, not for the purpose of garnering any sympathy or that you may feel sorry for her. I'm going to allow the testimony of her father with regard to the observations of the eating disorder, also for the limited purpose of explaining why she may have acted a certain way Again, not for the purposes of garnering any sympathy. Mr. Wickers, I apologize for the interruption. You may continue.
Your Honor, would you be willing to instruct the jury that the prosecutor is also allowed to attack her character now if they so chose, about with other people?
The character of the defendant is now an issue in the case.
Thank you. I'm going to show you what's been marked as photograph 0029. When was this taken?
So this was at what we have a tradition called the pigskin preview. It's before the school year starts. This is prior to her senior year. She was a football cheerleader and Chloe was a peewee cheerleader. They all get together, and of course Chloe gravitated to Skylar.
How old was Skylar here?
She would have been 17.
What month and year?
It's August. It's generally right before school starts.
August of 2017?
Right.
Skylar's senior year, what is peewee cheer? Did Skylar help out with that?
Yeah. Well, we
What
have a peewee program from 3rd till 6th grade, and in 7th grade it becomes a school function. So it's all just it's not a school function until the 7th grade. So before that it's peewee. They have both football and cheer.
What did Skylar do for work her senior year?
She worked at the Atrium YMCA in Middletown and what they called Child Watch.
Did you or Kim tell her she had to work at Atrium Middletown Child Watch?
We did not.
If you know, why did she work there?
She liked being with kids, and it was a side benefit that she could work out at the Y.
Did you and Kim get a text message from Skylar from work at one point?
Yes.
And what is this? Can you describe this for the jury? When you received it approximately?
Well, we believe it's January of, it was winter of 17-18 when she was a senior. And this is her with a baby that fell asleep in her arms.
I'm going to go back to August of 2017. Okay?
Okay?
Skylar's getting ready to start her senior year of high school.
Yes.
And you mentioned, is it called the Pigskin Preview or Classic?
Pigskin preview.
Okay. This is a full body shot of Skylar. And this would be, I can't zoom out anymore, but I apologize, I'm gonna cut your face up here. I want a full body shot. This is Skylar in August of 2017, correct?
Correct.
And how do you know that?
Because of the event.
Okay. And this is marked as Defendant's Exhibit 0018. And what is that event? Pigskin Preview.
It's just a showcase of, every little kid that participates in any of the football, peewee or high school, gets to run out the field.
Okay. So that would have been either right before she got pregnant or right after she got pregnant, August 2017, this photograph.
Correct.
The 2016.
Oh, 2016, sorry.
Yes.
26, before she started senior year.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I was going to say. Your dates weren't matching.
Sorry. Right before she started senior year.
Yeah.
Okay. In high school, we talked a little bit when Skylar was younger. When she was in high school, how was her relationship with her brother?
Good. They were always together and friendly. There was no animosity between the two.
Did they do things together?
Yes.
He would have been, when Skylar was a senior, Jackson would have been
Freshman.
a freshman. I'm going to show you 0019. What's this a photograph?
I believe this is October 2016. The two of them went with their aunt and uncle and cousins to a Miami University football game.
Okay. Which aunt and uncle?
Jay and Vanessa Ballwig.
Okay. We're still senior year, okay?
Okay.
At some point, senior year, Skylar starts dating Brandon Saylor.
Yes.
And do you remember about when?
I think it was around January of her senior year.
So that would have been January 2017?
Yes.
What do you think about Brandon?
He's a good kid.
You know his mom and dad?
Yes.
How'd you get to know him?
Well, we started going to the baseball games and stuff and sitting with them because we were there together.
Okay. Good family?
Very good family.
I'm going to take you to February 2017. Skylar's senior year. I'll show you a photograph. Jury's already seen part of this. I can't turn this Elmo, but this is a photograph of a prom dress that we've seen. When was this taken?
Well, it's February 2017, that's when she picked it out.
Okay. Do you remember where that was taken?
There was some dress shop they like to go to in Columbus.
Okay. So this is the dress she ultimately wore for prom,
Correct.
and this is February of 2017, correct?
Correct.
3 months before prom.
Correct.
Okay. Who'd Skylar go up there with?
Her mom and probably Savannah and Vanessa.
In March, was there a spring break that Skylar went down to? We've already heard some testimony about it.
Yes.
And Brandon was down there, correct?
Correct.
Why was he down there?
Well, the baseball team goes down there for a spring break tournament.
And where? Are we talking what state?
It's in Florida.
Okay. And what time of year was this? Skylar's senior year in Florida.
I think it was March or whenever spring break is. So yeah, March, April timeframe.
Okay. Skylar and Brandon didn't go together. They went separately with their own families, right?
Correct.
But they hung out when they're down there.
Correct.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 0026. The Skylar in, well, can you tell us what this photograph depicts?
Oh, Skylar and Brandon on the beach.
And when was this photo taken?
Would have been that spring break, March or April, whenever it was.
Of her senior year of high school.
Correct.
So this would be 2 months before she, well, a month and a half before she delivered this
Correct.
bikini picture. In May, are you aware Skylar wore the exact same prom dress that she had tried on in February to prom?
Yes.
And what's this a picture of?
That's Brandon and Skylar at our house before prom.
Okay, what date was this, if you know?
Whatever the date of prom was, May 6th,
Okay, 5th.
5th. Yeah, 5th, I'm sorry, that's right.
Do you remember the day of the week?
Would have been a Friday.
Okay. I'm going to show you a side-by-side. It's already been displayed. But can you tell us what this side-by-side depicts?
Yeah, that's picture when she was first trying on the dress, and that's the same dress when she went to prom.
All right, and this is Defendant's Exhibit 0025 for the record. To the best of your knowledge, are those dates correct? February 15th of 17 and May 5th of 17?
Yes,
So less than 3 months apart.
yes.
All right, I want to take you back to July 14th, first time Skylar's interrogated, okay? Tell me what happened when you got home from work that day.
It was a Friday afternoon, and I had taken a half a day, gotten home early. I pulled in the driveway. Detective Fane, another Warren County detective, and then the Katie Gee from Carlisle were at the house.
Okay. Did you know why they were there?
No idea.
Did you talk to them?
They approached me and said they needed to talk to my daughter about something she may have witnessed.
Okay. And what did you do next?
I called Skylar and told her she needed to come home.
Okay, where was she?
She was at her grandma's house with Brandon and his little sister swimming.
Okay. Did you think Skylar might be in a lot of trouble?
I didn't think at all because of the way she was, and I was told at least a few times that she wasn't in any trouble at all.
Okay. Did you ultimately take Skylar down to the Carlisle police station?
I did.
And how'd she get there?
I drove her.
What did you tell her anything on the way to the police station?
I assumed, based on what I was told, that they were going to ask her about something she may have witnessed. So I told her to tell the truth, to make sure she didn't make anything up, and to cooperate.
Did you teach Jackson and Skylar to respect the police and authority?
I mean, we always thought that that's what we should do.
When you arrived at Carlisle Police Station, You did arrive there, correct?
Correct.
I'm gonna show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit R. What's that a picture of?
The door to the police.
That's Carlisle
car.
Police Station?
Yes.
And then you walked inside. I'm gonna show you Defendant's Exhibit C. Can you just tell us what this is a picture of?
Just inside the door.
Okay, and that's like a window that you talk through, double pane. Was anyone in it that day, or was it empty like this?
And it was fairly empty.
Okay. You kept going, Defendant's Exhibit G. What is this a picture of?
That's the interrogation room.
Okay. When you first got there on July 14th, did you or Kim, was Kim there?
Not at first. She was still at work.
Okay. When did Kim ultimately arrive?
Well, I called her and she came there and went on her way home from work.
Okay. And after the interrogation, you ultimately went inside that room, correct?
Correct.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit F. What perspective is that?
I believe that's the door at the side of the interrogation room.
How you'd enter it?
Yeah.
Do you remember that day waiting outside the interrogation room with your wife?
Yes, I do.
The interrogation tapes have been cut down a little bit. How long were you waiting, to the best of your recollection, outside that room?
It seemed like forever, but I think it was at least 2 hours.
Okay. Before you went in?
Correct.
When you ultimately went inside the room, and you watched it in here, and you'd seen it before that, right?
Yes.
By the way, did you know that you were being continued to be recorded when you went back in that room?
I did not.
Did Kim or Skylar?
No, we were not told.
How surprised were you when you found out that your daughter had been pregnant?
Very.
That she delivered a baby and buried her in the backyard?
We were in shock.
You said some things in the interrogation. You said, why did you lie to us? Why did you lie to us? Can you tell us what you meant by that?
Well, we didn't know she was pregnant, and we had struggled with the whole eating disorder since she was 12, 13 years old, where she wasn't telling us what was going on.
Do you know why she didn't feel comfortable enough coming to you and saying she was pregnant?
I wish I did.
At the time when you were questioning Skylar, did you know that the doctor had told her that she had 10 weeks before she would deliver?
I didn't know that.
What would you and Kim have done if Skylar had delivered a live baby and come downstairs with a live baby?
We would have taken it into the family.
Would you have been mad?
I think we would have been in shock, and we probably would have been angry, but
If she had told you that she was pregnant immediately on April 26th, as soon as she found out, how do you think Kim and you would have reacted?
angry then shocked.
After that interrogation, so after you find out the information that we all saw in here, what are you thinking at that point?
We didn't know what to think, but we believed her. We didn't expect anything to come of it, and matter of fact, we were told that there wouldn't have been really anything. I think he said no significant charges is what he said.
6 days later, so, well, actually, in between that time, so July 14th was the first interrogation, correct?
Correct.
And the 20th was the second.
Yes.
Did you have Lieutenant Fane's cell phone?
He gave me a card at that first interview with his cell phone on it.
And at some point in between those two dates, did you and Skylar and your family start making arrangements to try to do a more formal burial and memorial service for Annabel?
We did.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as, has not been marked. I'm going to mark it as Defendant's Exhibit JJJ. J, 4 J's. While they're looking at that exhibit,
Do you have any other exhibits?
not to my knowledge. What information did you relay to Lieutenant Fane about Skylar's desire to have Annabel back and have a proper memorial and burial?
Well, I believe we'd been told that we could expect to get the remains back, so I asked him if that was still the case and when we might be able to do that so we could make arrangements.
Okay. Did you ultimately get them back?
No.
Your Honor, can we approach on this?
Okay. All right, Mr. Wickers, you may continue.
Thanks, Judge. July 20th. Can you tell us how you ultimately why'd you bring Skylar back to Carlisle Police Station?
Detective Fane called me, said that he had just a few more questions and could we bring her down to the station.
Okay. Why didn't you get her a lawyer?
I was told I didn't need one.
Did you ever think your daughter would be facing a serious charge?
I did not.
Did you tell Skylar anything on the way to the police station that day?
Same thing, just tell the truth.
Was Skylar trusting of authority figures like teachers and principals and police officers?
She was. She is.
Did you know at the time, back on July 20th, that police were allowed to lie to you or your daughter?
I did not know that. I wouldn't have believed it if you told me back then.
Did you ultimately know what temperature? I'm going to talk to you about May 7th, between 1 and 3 in the morning. Do you know what temperature it was on May 7th?
I can't recall that.
May I approach, Your Honor? This is something that's been stipulated to, and if you flip on the second or third page. Scott, both the prosecutor and defense agreed to this exhibit. It's a National Weather Service report. Can you tell us between 1 and 3 in the morning the temperature outside?
It looks like it's between 36 and 41, or 35 and 41 degrees.
And there are wet bulb temperatures, everything like that on there, right?
Correct.
This has been marked as Defense Exhibit Z, for the record. The prosecutor talked to some witnesses about, a lot of witnesses about the bed being moved around. You recall that?
Yes.
I'm going to show you a photograph. It's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit Triple Q. What's that a picture of?
That's Skylar's bedroom.
All right. What is this a picture of? This is Defendant's Exhibit L.
That's also her bedroom
And when was that?
after they searched it.
Defendant's Exhibit M. What's this a picture of?
Still her bedroom after they searched it.
Defendant's Exhibit N. What's this a picture of?
Same answer.
Defendant's Exhibit O. Do you know what that is a picture of?
Still her bedroom after the search.
How many times did they search?
Well, they were inside the house just that one time for a search.
Did they ultimately do 3 searches around your property?
Correct.
Was it common for Kim or Skylar or you to change the decor in your home?
Kim and Skylar. Not me.
Okay.
I got to move it. I didn't really want to do that.
Why, around the time, by the way, where's Skylar's bed now? Is it on the same bedroom wall?
It's just flipped almost opposite of where it was in that picture now.
Why at the time did your family decide to move things around in the house?
Well, what that had been through, they just wanted to change things up. We'd also moved some furniture downstairs as well as the bed.
Okay. We've seen pictures of lighter fluid in here. Why do you have lighter fluid at your house?
Well, we occasionally have bonfires. I build a small fire pit outside the house off the deck.
Have you ever seen Skylar light a fire?
Never.
Why'd she have a lighter in her room?
Candles?
Does Kim burn them too? Candles?
Yes.
We saw a photograph that the state presented of, and you've been in the court the whole time, correct?
Correct.
And we saw a photograph of bleach bottles. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Empty bleach bottles. By the way, this was 2.5 months after May 7th, right?
Correct.
And there were margarita mix bottles in that bin. You remember that?
Yes.
Was that a recycling bin? What was that bin?
It's just a storage bin where I kept empty containers. I used them for target practice.
What did you do with them specifically, and where did you take them?
Well, if you fill them full of water, and my father has property in Butler County off Wayne Madison Road where it's safe to shoot.
So that bin in the photograph, it was gray.
Yes.
Had a little bit of rust on it.
Yes.
You know, how long do you think that piled up, the bleach and the margarita mix?
Months.
What would happen in your house if there was a strange noise with the dogs or with you in the middle of the night?
Well, the dog, Norman, the younger one, has very good hearing, and he would go berserk.
And in fact, that was one of the things that you remember on the interrogation where you said there's no way there's a live birth
Yes.
because the dog would have gone nuts.
Yes.
Is Norman the one that sleeps with Skylar?
Yes.
In the home, that upstairs bathroom, does that share a wall with another room in the house?
Jackson's bedroom.
And that would be on the north side of the bathroom?
Yes.
What about Skylar's room? Does that share a wall with Jackson's bedroom?
Yes.
The hallway in between Skylar's bedroom and bathroom, does that share a wall with Jackson's bedroom?
Yes.
The jury's going to see here in a little bit of virtual tour of the home where they can walk through it online. You have a open floor plan in your home?
Yeah.
Why hasn't Kim been in the courtroom since the start of the trial?
She was subpoenaed by the prosecution, and therefore she's not allowed to be in the courtroom. But she's been here every day.
Were you aware that she was cheering Skylar on to lose weight?
I was not.
Were you aware that she was doing it when Skylar was a sophomore and Skylar sent her selfies in the mirror when she was a sophomore in high school?
I was not.
What's the biggest regret in your life, Scott?
Not having an attorney for the second interrogation.
What, if you could tell the jury one thing about Skylar before you get off the stand, what would it be?
She would never hurt another living being, let alone a baby.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Knippen, you may inquire.
Good morning, sir. It was clear from watching the interrogation tapes that you love your daughter very much, don't you?
Yes, I do.
And if she would have come to you on April 26th after her appointment with Dr. Andrew and told you that she was pregnant, I believe you testified with Mr. Wickers that you would have been shocked. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And you would have been a little angry,
Yes.
but you would have dealt with it, right?
Correct.
And you would have made sure that if she was told to go back in for an ultrasound the next day, you and your wife would have made sure that she made that ultrasound appointment, right?
We would have done whatever we needed to do.
And if she was told to schedule another appointment within the next week to start prenatal care, you guys would have made sure that she followed through with that as well, right?
Yes.
And during that time period after you found out that she was pregnant, you would have made sure that appropriate steps were taken to prepare.
I'm going to object to the prenatal care comment. It has nothing to do with the charges at hand.
Overruled.
And after that time period, if she would have came to you and told you that she was pregnant, you would have made sure that the appropriate steps were taken to make sure that you guys were all prepared, that you had the necessary supplies in the house. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
That baby wouldn't have wanted for anything. You would have made sure that all of that was provided for had she come and told you, in fact, that she was pregnant. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And let's go to the middle of the night on May 7th when she was going into labor. If she'd have came down to you, even if she hadn't told you that she was pregnant up until that point, if she'd have come and woken you and Kim up and told you that she was pregnant and that she needed help, you guys would have given it to her, wouldn't you?
Yes.
You would have driven her to the hospital if necessary.
Yes.
You would have called an ambulance.
Yes.
You'd have done whatever you could to make sure that your daughter and her daughter were safe. Is that fair?
Yes.
And if that child came out in distress, if there appeared to be issues with the child, you would have done whatever you could to make sure that that child was going to be okay. Is that right?
Yes.
But that night, in the middle of the night, you never heard a sound. Is that right?
That's correct.
And Jackson never heard a sound. Is that right?
As far as I know.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Anything else for this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. You can step down. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we're going to take our morning break a little bit early today. We have a little bit of scheduling issues that we are working around this morning that is not really of your concern. So I think we're going to take a little bit longer of a break, maybe go until 10:30. So let's plan on being back here around that time, ready to go. Remember the things that I have previously told you, even though we're taking a little bit of a longer break. Do not begin discussing the case amongst yourselves or think about how the case should be decided. Mr. Mullins, you can take the jury out. You may be seated. We are on the record outside the presence of the jury. Mr. Knippen, you wanted to make a better record concerning the photographs of the defendant?
Yes, Your Honor. The state objected to all of the photographs where Skylar was either a baby or a small child, or all the way up until the relevant time period for which we're here to discuss. The state believes that those photographs were shown to the jury simply to gather or garner sympathy for Skylar, and I didn't feel that they were relevant to the proceedings and the issue of what we're here for today.
All right, court gave a cautionary instruction to the jury as they were viewing this, so the objection is going to be overruled. Mr. Wickers, you wanted to make a record concerning the evidence that you wanted to proffer regarding funeral arrangements and the remains.
Thank you, Judge. An important part of the second interrogation in this case that occurred on July 20th is that the police officers pretended that their primary concern in that interrogation was to get Annabel back to Skylar and her mom and dad. And the evidence that I intended to show and also elicit through direct testimony of Mr. Richardson on the stand was that he and his wife had not only, with Skylar's knowledge, made plans together as a family to get a burial plot. In fact, they got 2 burial plots they were transferred to them from other family members, and this was between the 14th and the 20th. It was communicated to Lieutenant Fane. This was in planning with Skylar, and it goes directly to the concept of creating a vulnerable child by talking about Annabelle's remains in the second interrogation. So I did intend to talk to him about the burial plot and about the arrangements that the family had made. There were 2 exhibits proffered for the record. I believe JJJJ and and III that were burial plots dated November of 2017. Scott would have testified that they put that in the works between July 14th and July 20th of 2017 but because of lawyers, paperwork, and filing, it was not filed until November of 2017.
Mr. Knippen, the state want to be heard on that?
Your Honor, the state's objection was based on the relevancy of the document and the planning for the child's burial.
All right, I mean, this has already been covered to some extent in the statements that Ms. Richardson gave to the police, but I think the external evidence regarding this, specifically the burial plots and testimony from Mr. Richardson regarding this matter, is very likely to confuse the jury and is not relevant. If there is any relevance, it's substantially outweighed by the danger that the jury is going to lose their way in viewing this evidence, so I'm going to exclude the exhibits, which are J and I to the 4th. All right, we need a little bit of a break, so 10:30, our next witness will be ready to go, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, anything else? Oh, Mr. Wickers, I think that you wanted to place on the record some objections regarding the prenatal care.
Yes, Judge, I think it was dealt with in the motions in limine, but the questions that the prosecutor asked Mr. Richardson about prenatal care cannot be considered for the charges of aggravated murder, child endangering, or involuntary manslaughter, and that continues to be a state theme in this case, which is also why we requested a severance of the counts.
All right, the court has already provided the, at least on one, I think maybe two occasions, I have instructed the jury specifically on this issue. With regard to this specific testimony, Mr. Richardson was asked a number of hypothetical questions on direct examination about what would have happened had they known about the baby. I think it is fair for Mr. Knippen to inquire also as to the hypotheticals on cross-examination, so I'm going to allow that for that limited purpose. All right, we'll see everybody back here at 10:30.